When I tell the story, as I'm doing the restoration, it's almost a healing process for me all over again, because I'm not only watching all the hard work that I did, but I'm watching all the hard work that that individual has done as well in their own lives in order to be able to let go and trust that process. And it once that video is done and sent and they see it, I not only get emotional every single time, but they get emotional as well, just because I know that it's that finality, I guess. It's them understanding, okay, and now I can continue to move forward in my life.
Remember your first stuffed animal or your baby blanket or your pillow? I sure do. It wasn't just for comfort. It was really the first best friend. You hugged it. You told it secrets. You nurtured it, and it nurtured you back, right? Danielle Allore-Taylor brought back some real childhood memories for me when I stumbled upon her on TikTok. And I imagine since her fluff stuffed restoration videos have gone viral, she has impacted millions, maybe even you. Seeing how she cares so deeply for others' first best friends, bringing them back to life in the most loving way, it is so touching. And I knew in that moment I had to run to my storage unit and grab my first best friend, my fluffy baby, out of storage. And then I needed to share her with you. So on this episode of Holistically Speaking, you are about to get to know Danielle, the story of her first best friend, and the most beautiful gift that her mother bestowed upon her on what it means to change lives, plus how one very special bear became a pinnacle moment in helping others heal their past and create new memories with an old best friend. And you may even meet our first besties too. I feel like a child again with you in the room, Miss Danielle Allore-Taylor. What a joy to have you here on Holistically Speaking.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. What I want to start by saying and just letting my lovely listeners know is that, look, I'm relatively new to the TikTok thing. And by relatively new, I guess it's almost about 6 months now. But, I feel like I'm late to the TikTok game, but I have found that that is a really great place to find my guests. And you, my dear, are one of them. So
yay!
Thanks for grabbing onto the TikTok ride. Actually, I should be saying that I'm the one grabbing onto the ride because you've been there longer than I have. You're picking me up.
Along for the ride.
So this is so special because I feel like this is an episode where we're really going back to our inner child. And I mean that in a positive way. But I think two things that gravitated me to you was that you are in this beautiful business that you've created into a business now of restoring fluffed animals, stuffed animals for people, but also your handle, A Tall Glass of Anxiety, is what really reached out to me because I'm like, wait, is she, what's up with this girl? She's got the anxiety, which we all do. And she's restoring fluffed animals or stuffed animals. Like, I don't even want to know how they turn out with those two things together. But watching you, just watching what you do and how you share the joy of restoring people's first loves really is quite beautiful.
Right.
So, yeah. So what's your story, girl?
I do think it's really, well, I was just going to say, I do think it is really funny. When I first started TikTok, it was the height of the pandemic and no one was doing anything. We were all stuck at home and I could not find a good username. And then I remember that at one point I was singing karaoke somewhere and someone called me a tall glass of water. And I said, no, actually I'm a tall glass of anxiety. And that's just, it stuck in my head. And so, excuse me, after I started my TikTok, I was just mainly going to focus on just doing silly skits and talking about my anxious behaviors and whatnot. And then within that year, it kind of went from that to my restoration work. So it is kind of funny how it all plays a part in itself. I found that when I really truly started the restoration part of my TikTok account is when my anxiety really started to go away, which is
Mm.
oddly, it's just, I don't know, it very therapeutic, but I know we're going to
Yeah.
be talking about that on your show today.
Absolutely. And when you say that it just goes away, it's very common for that to happen. As someone who is a mental health practitioner, and I focus on this every day, and I have to do it in my own life as well. We need those pleasant distractions in our lives that create the
Right.
sense of joy and calm. And if you have a hobby, which hobbies are really important as long as they don't get in the way of our everyday, like where it overcomes us to where we're not
Yes.
dealing with the everyday, we need to step away from the
Right.
daily. So for you, you were actually not, this wasn't your full time job for a long time, right?
It
This was a
wasn't.
passion.
No. Yes, I mean, I just did it for fun. So ever since I was about 14 or 15 years old, I don't really have an exact date, but I would fix my own toys when I got old enough. My mom kind of handed me the sewing kit and said, "Okay, now it's your turn." But it wasn't anything I ever did, as an actual job. It wasn't until I lost my job during the pandemic that I had to sit and reevaluate what I was doing with my life and what I could do to not only help supplement income, but bring joy back into my daily routine.
Mm. Mm. I know my mom is going to love this episode because I think you actually met my mom briefly when we had our first call and she walked
I
into the
did.
room.
She was so sweet. Oh, I
'Cause-
loved her. I thought about her and you all the rest of the day and thought, oh my
Aw.
gosh, that's another thing I love about this job is just meeting new people
Mm.
and being able to talk to them. And I know she was so sweet. Like, I'm sorry, I'm bothering you. You're not bothering me. That's what I love about meeting new people, you know?
Actually, I think she was
Oh,
walking into her playroom, which is like the room where she repurposes and restores. And I told you that like
yes,
if I shifted like 5 feet, you would have seen an entire shelf of
yes,
what looks like you with the stuffed animals as my mom's little tchotchkes, right? And I think what's so beautiful
yes.
is that I resonated with that because when I first found you, I realized, gosh, you are like that's a lot like my mom. My mom, who's in her 80s, needs a hobby, needs to be tactical, has always been like that. But it reminds me of how important it is for us to have those things that allow our mind to focus on something that brings us, like
Mhm.
you said, joy. And for you, who's been doing this for a long time, you've been able to incorporate this into your life as a hobby. But then there was a point where Danielle walked away from the workforce, that full-time job, and the stuffies became your full-time job
They did, which
thanks to
I
TikTok.
never in my wildest dreams thought. I know, really, it is. It is all thanks to TikTok. I had done videos here and there, either on my Facebook or Instagram before that, but it was really TikTok that made that first video explode and go from there. And I just wanted to say, when I met your mom, and you told me that she was in her 80s, it gave me that hope that this is really something I can do for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
It's not just a phase, it's something that I truly just, it stuck in my head and I knew this is what I wanted to continue to do. So it was just really sweet to meet her. She's
Oh,
a doll.
shout out to Bevy. Shout out to Mama Bev. she she
Awesome.
listens too. She's a devoted listener of Holistically Speaking. So, what was it that you were
As
doing
she should.
exactly, right? Like number one cheerleader slash agent almost, right? They
Yes.
always are.
Our moms are our biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah. So, and you yourself, you're a stepmom, correct?
I am, yes, my 14-year-old going into high school next year.
Mm.
He's growing up way too fast. And I
And
have my 10-year-old daughter, so there's a lot.
right. So you have a daughter, you have a stepson, and what I loved is just
Yes.
recently, actually, I know that your daughter lost her beta fish, and I was watching the video that you
Ah,
posted about recreating her or creating, actually not recreating, but you made her beta fish out of a stuffy. You actually made one from scratch.
I did. I had a woman reach out to me a year ago asking for a replica of her betta fish. So it was a pattern that I had already had, and I thought it was a traumatic day in our family, this poor betta
Mhm.
fish. So it was just something that I wanted to do for her to make her smile, and it really did help her heal throughout that process, because when it's a sudden loss of someone or something, it does have a huge effect on you. So I'm glad
Mm.
I was able to help her out with that healing process.
Yeah, and I think our stuffed animals are really our first loves, and then we move on to like
Mhm.
that first pet that comes into the home, and that you have to really take care of it. We take care of our stuffed animals. We some dress them up. They sleep with us. We nurture them, and then
Yes,
that spot where you move on to a fish or a cat or a dog or whatever. Um, it elevates the level of nurturing in a child's mind. So
it
I think
does.
I think that goes back to what the connection is with the stuffed animals. And when people send you their first loves, really,
They do.
and they're putting a trust in your hands to not disrupt what already exists, but help heal or help mend, I guess would be a good word. How important is that responsibility for you?
Oh, I mean, I will tell you, I get nervous every time I know that one of my new friends, stuffed friends, is on their way to me, because I understand the responsibility behind what is about to happen. And so it definitely is a trusting process. I talk with each of and I don't call them clients, I call them my friends, because
Mm.
we've bonded to a certain level at that point. We've talked about their stuffed friend and what they need mended and how I can help. So they've already trusted me to the point where I feel like they're a friend of mine.
Mm.
So when they when I have them come to me in the mail, like I said, it's extremely a nerve wracking process until they get to me. And once they're here, I know that those individuals feel safe, because some of these individuals, it's taken them a year or more to trust me enough to say, okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready to let go for a week and have you take care of, essentially, as you said before, my best friend is one of our very first best friends in life. So I take that very seriously, and I walk them through the entire process as their friend is being restored.
Mm.
And once that restoration is done, I take a little bit of time just to revel in the fact that all that hard work is completed. And then the anxiety sets in again when they go back home, and I'm on pins and needles until I get that message. Okay, they're safe in my arms, and then I do it all over again.
Mm.
So it's a process of anxiety, and then trust, and then healing, and then anxiety again. So it's I guess my circle of life, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about it as I sit here and look, I mean, mainly people are listening to the podcast, but I have my two stuffies, my little fluff that I've had for almost two, I'm sorry, 2 decades. I'm a little older than that. I've had almost a half a century. Okay. This came to me when I was like 3 days old, and my bear came to me, I don't even know, like around the same time. And just when you're talking about that, about letting go of them and passing them over, even though I completely trust you, it's just maybe I don't trust the mail system.
Oh, and
Maybe
that's
it's the mail system I don't
honestly that
trust.
if I had $1 for every time I said that, I'd be in Hawaii right now. I because that is the biggest thing that people say is, I trust you, I just don't trust the postal system. And
Yeah, it's
and
scary.
it is. It's definitely, that's the hardest part of letting go.
Yeah.
But
But how do you, let's walk through this process because I really love the process. I watch you all the time on TikTok. I absolutely, you bring down my anxiety. It's not just what you're doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of stress and anxiety that goes along with the gift that you've been given in order to do this? Because it's not just like sewing a patch or closing up a hole or putting new
Right.
batting in. There's such a process, Danielle, that I watch you go through, and you voiceover. You do a voiceover, and it's just beautiful because you're almost teaching people how you do it, but you're also sharing the emotional side of what you're doing. So, can you walk us through that a little bit?
Absolutely. When I first started my restoration videos, I mainly focused on what I was doing. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and they really opened my eyes to understanding that people aren't just watching my videos because they want to get a how to on fixing their friend,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more or less about why. And when I started really incorporating the story even more than what I already did, and talking about the healing process throughout each restoration, that was really when it started to take off again. And I understood that people resonated with the story. And it is about that beautiful stuff, friend, but it's about the attachment and the story that is connected to that friend. And I'm sure your sweet little friends that you just held up, you have many stories connected with.
Mm.
And I really truly believe that's how I think all of us have an attachment to something, whether it's a stuffed animal or whether it's something, just anything from their past. You look at it and it reconnects you with who you maybe used to be or who you've turned into now. And so for me, as I said before, these individuals are my friends now, and we've talked through why that stuffed animal means so much. And so when I tell the story, as I'm doing the restoration, it's almost a healing process for me all over again, because I'm not only watching all the hard work that I did, but I'm watching all the hard work that that individual has done as well in their own lives in order to be able to let go and trust that process. And it once that video is done and sent and they see it, I not only get emotional every single time, but they get emotional as well, just because I know that it's that finality, I guess. It's them understanding, okay, and now I can continue to move forward in my life. And the other thing that I love about it is every story is different. No stuffed animal has the same story, just like none of us have the same story. So it is truly, I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing for me. And I enjoy every restoration I've done. And there have been some extremely difficult ones, even to the point where my anxiety rises throughout it. And I might seem calm and collected, but in reality, I have to really sit and slow myself down sometimes and work through those difficult moments. Uh, I don't know. As I said before, it's different every single time, but it's
Mm.
beautiful every single time, and I love it.
I see you when you're doing this, and there are moments where we're not necessarily seeing your face in a lot of these videos because you're showing us the process of the gentle washing, the removing of
Mm-hmm.
the what needs to be restored, like some of the batting. Or do you have a term for it that you don't call it batting? I mean, what do you call it? Something else to give it a more
I mean,
nurturing?
I
Or
do. I do. I mean, I just. I usually just say mend the fabric. It
okay,
sounds a
yeah,
lot more
the batting,
soothing to me, but
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Whether it's,
But that's the thing. It's like
I
you
don't know.
words do matter. Words do matter. So as I'm sitting here and I'm saying
They
it, I'm like,
do.
huh, does she use that word? And I couldn't recall, but you kind of just go through the process, and we see your hands doing it. We hear your soothing voice. It's such a nurturing, sweet process that you're taking us through on TikTok. And you show us gently watching it, washing the stuffies like it's a baby, like in a baby wash, and then brushing it gently and then mending it gently. And then you do something really special. And I'm going to ask you this, but you put a little envelope in with a heart. And I imagine, is that some of the old fabric? Or is it a note? What
It's
is it?
yes. Usually it's the old thread or the old stuffing. if I've replaced the eyes are in there, or the nose, or whatever those pieces, there's certain pieces that the individuals want replaced, but they don't want to let go of. And so that's
Mm.
what, and I call them their memories. And that's what my mom used to do for me. So my mom, when she would fix my stuffed rabbit, who is quite truly beyond repair at this point, even for me, which is hard to say, she would always add his stuffing back into his little tiny body and sew it back up. And she'd always say, well, we can't forget his memories, Danielle. We got to put his memories back in. And that was something that always resonated with me. She made Rabbit alive in my younger years. She had a voice for him. She had she'd always make him like walk around and talk and do silly things, and so his memories really resonated with me in the fact that I just felt like that was a part of him that I couldn't let go. And while when I do these restorations, I can't keep all of the old stuffing most of the time, but what I will do is take a large amount of that stuffing and add it to the envelope, and then give them their memories back, so to speak. And it's again another healing moment for the individual, that they realize their friend might look a little different, but it's still the same friend, and they're preserved for the ability to have around for many more years to come. And that's the part that truly gives me happiness, in knowing that I'm allowing not allowing, they're allowing themselves to have that healing moment of realizing it's okay to let go. And it's also okay to continue to move forward in your life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, from what I recall working with children, especially, sometimes the stuffed animal or stuffy, because it's not always an animal, is
Right.
the safe zone. There have been things in the home that haven't been positive, whether it is sexual assault or bullying or something that the only friend they feel that they have is the one that they're able to nurture themselves. And I love seeing that, but there's a level of safety that's not there with that. It's missing an actual real person that can help you. So you're taking a real important part of someone's life and rebirthing it in a way. And I can see just from what you do and how you share how incredibly important that is, that you feel that you're doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
As I said before, you're segueing into a huge important part of fluff restoration's rebirth, so to speak. Because as I said before in the beginning, it was mainly just about explaining how I was doing the restoration, but not necessarily why. And a very good friend of mine had reached out to me. She's local. We've been friends for quite a while, and while her and I were talking, she said, I have this stuffed bear. And unfortunately, the story attached to it isn't a great story, but I feel that allowing myself to heal in my own life is extremely important. So I believe that you restoring this bear will help give me the tools that I need to be able to move on in my life. And unfortunately, she was a victim of sexual assault at a very young age. And that very same night, her bear was in the room with her when it happened. And after everything happened, she held her bear and cried. Obviously, it was very traumatic and a horrible experience for her. And as she grew into the woman that she is today, she kept that bear. And she almost threw her name, the bear's name is Christina. She almost threw Christina away because she just felt that that attachment wasn't something that she wanted anymore. And as she gave me that bear, it was that trusting moment of I'm hoping that you can help me. And I know I keep saying heal and move on, but that really is truly what we have to do in our lives and move forward. So that was really the game changer for fluff restoration. And that was one of my very first true stuffed animal stories.
Mm.
And when I talked through that process and what had happened to her and what had happened with Christina, it allowed a lot of people to truly connect with someone else and the trauma in their past. So it was so emotional for me to know that I wasn't just fixing the stuffed animal anymore, that it was helping fix my friend's heart. And after the restoration was done and I gave her bear back, we hugged for a really long time and both cried. It was very therapeutic for the both of us. And that was when I started the restoration fund. Is I realized there's so many people out there that want the ability to have a restoration done, whether it's their stuffed friend or their stuffed pillow or a blanket or whatever. They want that ability to be able to let go of those things that happened in their past, and at the same time still keep a part of their past, the part that gives them happiness and comfort, without letting go of the whole entire thing. So setting up that restoration fund has been a huge blessing in my life and in these other people's lives, just to know that there are others out there that are willing to help and aid in that whole process.
That is
So
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Christina's whole restoration story just truly was the pinnacle moment for fluff restoration, I would definitely have to say.
How long ago was that?
Goodness, I want to say a year and a half ago. It was it was about six months after I really started doing all of my different restoration videos is when I did Christina's story, and it changed a lot.
Is that
But I'm
the
glad.
story that caused the blow up on TikTok? Was that the one? Or
It wasn't, but it did. It definitely gave it gave my account the ability to blow up a little bit more. But I'm glad that it wasn't one of the ones that exploded, just because so many people that saw the original video that exploded, it kind of became, it was almost like with any video, it's a fad for a moment, it comes and goes, but Christina's story stayed. It wasn't just one that people watched and forgot. It was the one that stuck. So I'm glad that it didn't blow up too much.
And you never know, like that story, there are triggers that people have where they're not ready to face some of their own traumas. And,
Right.
Being trauma informed and working with people in the trauma space, I see that a lot. But the thing that I just want to share and to my beautiful listeners out there, trauma lives in our body. And it's just a question of how do we want to approach the healing process. I have trauma, you have trauma, and when we realize it's there and we love all parts of ourselves, we have the ability to heal, whether it's through restoring your favorite stuffed little stuffy, whether it is going to traditional therapy, whether it's coming to complementary alternative therapeutic means, or going for a walk, or doing whatever it is. Having the support and having connectivity and knowing you're not alone in the battle is the first thing. The second thing is that when you honor the trauma and you say, this is the story that happened to me or happened in the past, but it doesn't have to be in the new narrative in that capacity that it was in the past. So like with Christina, that brought a sense of comfort to your friend. But when she was able to see Christina later, the true love of that stuffed animal is still there, but with a renewed story. And isn't that trauma, right? When we heal from our trauma, it's realizing that those stories don't define us. We have the ability to alter them in the most beautiful way and create a new narrative. Yeah.
Yes. I couldn't have said it any better. As I said, I know I kept repeating the same words, but it's truly about being able to, look at who you are now as opposed to who you used to be. We don't have
Mhm.
to stay where we were. We can
Yeah.
allow ourselves to move on.
I want to touch on the restoration fund, but please finish your thought first. And for you said.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I know for me in my own personal life, allowing myself to just understand that my anxiety was a part of me, but it's not me, allowing that to just be a part of my story, but not have it be the whole thing. I think that
Mhm.
that's all I was going to say.
And that is so much, because when we realize, and we are, the first step in change in anything is awareness, right? Once we're aware there's something
Right.
that we want to shift or change or grow, once we are aware, we're able to say, okay, you know what? I love myself. I love all parts of myself. And I'm here to witness it, and I'm open to the change. And then you can move into the next stages of the healing. But that is the first step
Right.
in healing, right? So
It is.
before we go further, and I want to touch on the restoration fund, because in any way that we could support you, we will. I just want to say that again, this is Danielle Allore-Taylor, and she has the Fluff Restoration, which is just a beautiful business that you've created. You've been doing this for years, but the fact that this is now a full-time business, thanks to your dedication and giving TikTok a chance and letting people see what you do. But this wouldn't be possible, this conversation, without my friends over at Squadcast. But if this conversation touch, moves, and inspires you in any way, if you have a fluffy and a stuffy of your own, consider reaching out to Danielle. I'm going to put all the information in the podcast notes. Pass this episode along to one other person so they can hear it too. And let's just get it out there and pay it forward, because this is so important for us to share this on the healing, on the growth, and, bringing your babies back to you. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very, very
Of
much.
course. So tell us about the restoration fund. I'm very curious about that.
So there's two separate ways. I have just your basic. If you'd like to donate any monetary amount, I have that link on my website at fluffrestoration.org. But I also have another fun way. I wanted to give back in a certain way. I'm not very good at asking for help. I never have been, but I am good at wanting to give back to others if they express any kindness to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, something on the side that I do on top of doing restorations for individuals is I will go to local places in my hometown that are throwing away stuffed animals that are either soiled or completely broken. And I restore those, and then I put them up for adoption at fluffrestoration.org. And I wish I could record every single restoration I do with those, but I I don't have enough memory on my phone to be able to do that. But all of just the fact that these and many of these, that's a whole other story. As far as I feel like we live in a wasteful world, and
Mm.
sometimes these toys are absolutely mendable, but aren't, they're just being thrown away. So I offered my services, and these places will just give me their stuffies, and we take them, we clean them, we mend them, and as I said before, put them up for adoption. So that money that that you will pay for the adoption fee is actually restoration fund fee. So that's kind of my way to give back, in the sense that whenever that individual looks at that stuffed animal that they adopted, that they remember that they did something good for someone else.
Mm. Love that.
And so that's something that I love doing. That I think it's so much fun, and I've shipped stuffed animals all over the world at this point. So, and it's just
Mm.
the generosity of others never ceases to amaze me. And I just love everyone that I come in contact with. They're amazing.
I think we all want to be a part of something bigger anyway that means something. And, being
Right.
charitable doesn't mean you have to dip into your pocketbook, and it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be monetary. Sometimes it could just be an
Right.
offering of what I love to say when I just actually sold my car, my Jeep Grand Cherokee in the beginning of this year. And to me, that was like stuffy because I loved my Jeep. I loved Louise. I named her Louise. And
Oh,
after Joni Mitchell's song, Cherokee Louise. And I was
love it.
really having a hard time letting go of Louise. So like with anything that I will either bequeath or sell or give away, I call it previously loved. I don't call it for sale because I want them to know it came from a
Absolutely.
place that it was nurtured and taken care of. You know, like with pets, we
Right.
see a lot of times with real live animals, if somebody needs to adopt an animal, it's previously loved. Hopefully,
Hmm.
hopefully, or,
Right.
so the word love is a very powerful word. And
It
uh,
is.
I do really. It's remarkable what you're doing, and if it brings joy to somebody's life, I noticed a video you shared not too long ago where there was a stuffy out in like the desert or something, or it was
Oh
out
my
like on a
goodness.
rock,
Yes.
and like you left it
Yes.
there, and then you went back for it.
Well, what had happened was there was this individual who was out in the desert camping. She had found this stuffed dog, but because she had an actual dog of her own, she didn't take this stuffed dog with her because she was afraid it would get ripped up.
Mm,
So she kind of created a little safe space in the desert for this stuffed animal, but she left the coordinates about at the top part of her video. So I shared the video in hopes that if someone was out that way, they might be able to find it. And lo and behold, this young woman and her family traveled out to these coordinates and they found not only the stuffed dog, but they found a stuffed bear. And mind you, I did have some people say, "Oh, maybe those were for a memorial or
yeah.
something like that." But again, this was out in the middle of nowhere at a campsite, so I'm quite certain that's not the case. But they ended up sending me, and Odro and Pedro were their names. So they ended up sending me these two friends, and they were completely. When I say I still have sand in my restoration room, I have vacuumed 3 times, and there's still sand everywhere. That is how much they were extremely dirty. But again, going back to the generosity of others, just going out of their way to rescue these stuffed animals in the middle of nowhere, I just thought was amazing. And I had offered to do it for free, but their beautiful, generous hearts decided to pay for the restoration. And I just, again, it was just, it was every single story, every single restoration has an amazing story connected to it in some shape or form.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did think that was really, really interesting. I thought there's no way someone's going to find these guys, but they did.
Where was it?
I I
Like
want
what
to say it
state?
was it was in Arizona, from what I
And you're
remember.
not.
No, I'm no, I'm not in. I'm very far up north. Nope.
Yeah.
Yep, Michigan.
Wow.
Michigan is very different from
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. When you showed the terrain and I listened to it the first time, I was like, wait, where is there desert in Michigan?
Right, I know,
Because
and
I
that's
thought it
what
was
when I said
you.
I oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I wish I could go camping out there. That looks
Right.
super, super fun.
I imagine that it was meant to be. And I can understand where people be like, maybe that was a shrine but if it was near a campsite, the likelihood was a little girl or a little boy left it behind, right? It was one of those things when you're
Exactly.
packing up. So it was left for somebody else. And again, it's another pay it forward. Maybe there's a child, and maybe somebody will see it on TikTok, who knows? And it's like, that was mine. There's so many possibilities. I think
Right.
that's the beauty of social media is that we are really all connected. And, you know,
We
I,
are.
I'm really trying to use the space for positive, and I'm like I said, very new, very small numbers. Hopefully I'll grow, not because we're more than our numbers, but having those numbers does
Absolutely.
help us connect with others. And if we can touch, move, and inspire somebody in any way with our gifts, our as PT Barnum called it, and I love to quote one of my guests, Jonathan Lee Iverson, who was the ringmaster for Barnum Bailey Circus for so long. We all have a peculiar genius, something that's
Oh,
really
wow. Yes.
something so peculiar and genius to us that we are sharing in this world. And like what yours is, I know what mine is. Maybe we're trying to find what it
Right.
is for those, right? But you have a gift that you're sharing, and you're really using that gift and sharing that gift really beautifully across the space that you've been given. So finally, your voice is being heard to the capacity it needs to be, not just for you. And I'm sure it has to do with your own healing. I'm sure there's a level of healing you find from this that you share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Before there was restoring on a full-time level. And by the way, you say we. Do you have help in this capacity?
I definitely ask my family for help as far as helping when I send out my adoption boxes. They always help me with that, or whether it's reorganizing my restoration room after it looks like a tornado hit it. But generally, when it's the restoration process, that is solely me. But my family is my team. They help me at any time, really.
Is there an interest with your children to take to the needle and thread themselves?
My daughter is definitely interested in learning the trade. My son has his other interests in life, and that is absolutely okay. But yeah, my daughter is kind of taken after me now, where she sees these, whether it's a stuffy on the side of the road that needs rescuing, or whether it's her own stuffed animals that need mending. She asks me to, go downstairs with her and help fix her friend. And she has her own aspirations for the future, but I do believe that she wants to, in some shape or form down the road, can help me a little bit more than what she is right now. So I definitely have to thank her for that.
Definitely. And what's so beautiful about that is it's a trickle down, because you were talking about how your mother taught you and did what she did for you with Rabbit. And here you are with your daughter. What's your daughter's name?
Her name is Lila.
Oh, beautiful. So from mom to you, from you to Lila, it's this generational, story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Multi-generational. That's so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing I would love to ask you is what was your most difficult restoration?
Oh, goodness. I have to think about it for a second. Pedro, the one we were just talking about, the stuffed dog in the desert, he had dry rot. So the sand and the sun, it took a toll on his fabric. What ended up happening is when I was removing the stuffing, and I said this in the video, you could hear the fabric tearing as the stuffing was being removed. So that was a moment of anxiety for me of, oh my goodness, is this going to be a restoration that I can actually perform? Another one that I had a difficult time with, his name is Mr. E Bunny, which he was the tiniest restoration I've done so far, but his body had completely fallen apart too. So it was me essentially rebuilding what wasn't there anymore. Thank goodness for reference photos so that I could actually put him back together. I would definitely say each restoration has its own difficulties. But as far as not knowing if I was able to restore them fully, it would definitely be those two for sure. They were a touch and go for a little bit there. And I'm always honest with it in my videos.
You are. And it seems so transparent, which is beautiful, showing your vulnerability that, yes, you do this for a living, but even that comes with difficulties. We can be a master and an expert at something, but it doesn't mean we're perfect at something.
Oh, yes.
There's always learning.
I always try to Yes. Yeah. I always try to end up explaining that in my videos because I don't want anyone to ever believe that it's just this easy process or something that doesn't have those difficult moments in it. Because I want that to resonate with the people who are watching and listening and knowing
Yeah.
that you can do hard things, even if it takes a little bit longer than normal.
What about Rabbit, though? You said that Rabbit is in very delicate condition.
So this is Rabbit. And as I said earlier, definitely worse for wear. He is unrepairable, and
Mm.
so I actually wrote a poem about it because I had a friend reach out to me and wanted me to audition. As you said before, people have said I have a soothing voice, and so there's this competition that was just out, and you had to write your own piece is something to read aloud. So I did, but it was about Rabbit, and essentially my story in that was that I fix others because I can't fix him. And just for reference, I'm going to set him down for a second. This is an exact replica of what he used to look like. So they hold on, I got
Wow. Did
yes.
you make the replica?
I did not make the replica. I actually found it on eBay. So I purchased him from eBay. I actually bought all of them because I couldn't bear the thought of not having them. But we talk about, having these pieces in our life that we're connected to that help us throughout our daily lives. And that was Rabbit for me. He was with me everywhere I went. He even went to college with me, even when I got married. And then he was with me through my divorce. And then when I got married again. So he's been with me quite literally through it all. And when I had my daughter was when my mom actually gave me this Rabbit, the replica. And then I ended up finding more online years later. It was, I don't know, it was a beautiful, beautiful moment for me to see the before and after, because at that time I had only seen photos of what he used to look like, but to have that replica in my hand just made me very emotional and happy. And that's something else I love to do is help others find that stuffed animal that they used to have as they're growing up and reconnect with their childhood once again. So I love that part about my job as well.
I love that story. In fact, I love it so much that I completely resonate with that story.
Yay!
I get it. College, divorce. I mean, and by the way, listeners, those of you who are listening and not watching, we're holding up our babies right now. So
yes.
I love it. And this is like, we have a whole circus here.
Yes, we do.
Bears and elephants, rabbits, little zoo. But for you, I love everything about you, Danielle. And I feel as though you're a kindred spirit and you're such a kind heart. And your life into this, like you said, was a hobby. Beforehand, you were, I saw another video, like I guess I'm kind of TikTok stalking you, but I saw another video where you actually were doing props and puppets rather for the theater. You have a love for theater. You have a background working in music. Is it music therapy? Is that what you did?
I was an aide for a music therapist place in my hometown, and I definitely love what they do. They're a great help to the community too. And I had only worked there for a short period of time before the pandemic hit, and that was when I had to go. But I do actually. And going back a little bit, yes, I'm very involved in musical theater, and I also love to put my hands in the prop bucket and help out with that. But no, I also build puppets and also help out with other props and stage stuff. So, but yeah, recently my puppets were used in some local productions. So I've been pretty busy with that as well.
Yeah.
That's been really fun to teach others how to use those puppets. And
can we just say, wait, hold on. It's not just a puppet. Like you did the creme de la creme of puppetry by doing, did you not do the Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors?
Yes. Well,
okay. Then it's not just like, Right. That's huge.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
cool.
quite literally, the largest puppet I built is 4 feet tall, and it can actually eat the actors. So that,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I have to toot my own horn a
Yeah,
little bit. I'm
please do.
glad that it turned out. It's quite amazing, and
Yeah.
I was very proud of myself because I had never built a puppet that big ever, and it might be a while before I build another large one like that again.
Yeah, it's a little different than the stuffies. And the other thing is, when we talk about your restoration, you did mention this earlier. It isn't just animals. You will also do baby blankets. You'll do a number of different. Look, I'm just thinking here, sitting while like my guys are in pretty good condition. My baby blanket is
Right.
tattered and torn, and has been with me since I stepped
Oh,
foot on this planet. And I'm like, how in the world do you do that when fabric is missing and the batting is missing and all of those things are missing? I could never part with my baby blanket ever. And then
right. Baby Yes, baby blankets are a little bit harder than stuffed animals just
mm,
because, like you said, that fabric has worn down to bits. My brother has his childhood stuffed blanket, and I offered to help, and he said, "No, do not touch Blanky. You can't touch
yeah,
Blanky because they are so fragile at that point." But a lot of times, remnants from that original fabric are added to a new blanket, and that's
yeah,
essentially what is. There's no restoring
yeah.
that, unfortunately. But no, people have given me pillows, a pillow that has significance, or even dolls. I've restored doll houses,
Mm,
puppets, you name it. I've been asked to fix it. I even had an individual ask me to fix their Letterman's jacket from high school,
love
which
it.
I I just it's amazing to me the lengths of people asking for
Yeah,
help, and I always
yeah.
want to be able to help.
I love it. There's
Try.
so many. There's so many, and I wanted to touch on that because I wanted people to know it's more than just stuffed animals. Because some people might
Right.
be like, I'm grown up now. I don't identify with that anymore. But or maybe there's somebody in their lives. What a beautiful gift to give somebody for their birthday. I think about the fact that my dad has been gone almost 20 years this fall, and for
Mm.
20 years I've been holding on to a bag of fabric of my father's clothes. I kid you not. It makes me very emotional to think about it. And I've been thinking, oh, I want to get a quilt made and have quilts made for like my brother and myself and my mom and my aunt. And then I'm like, gosh, could I do something different? Could I do something different that's
Right.
like a stuffed animal or something that's
People
just
do that.
I know.
Yeah.
So you're getting the wheels turning because like it's not doing any good sitting in a big plastic box for 20 years. And when I'm ready, I'll do it. But there's a part of me that feels like bringing that fabric close to me again would be really special. Like right now I'm sitting on my dad's
Absolutely.
chair that needs some reupholstery. But it brings us close to people, and or
It does.
or memories, close to memories. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That sensory that we have with that fabric really does reconnect us to those memories. And
Mm,
I can tell you multiple times that individuals that I've restored their stuffed animals, they say he might look the same or he might look different, but he feels the same.
mm,
And that's a lot of times I'll have people ask me when we're in the beginning of a process to do a restoration. One of the very first questions is, will he feel the same? Sensory is a huge
mhm.
thing for us, very therapeutic.
Yes.
And as far as there and that's something else I love about TikTok and just social media in itself, is there are many other talented other individuals out there that make these stuffed animals out of fabric, and that's something I'd love to tap into in the future, but I'm so
Mm,
busy mending the ones that are already broken. But yeah, there's so many incredible people out there that make blankets and stuffed animals or replicas of deceased, pets that,
yeah.
the lengths that these individuals go to is just beautiful. And
Yeah.
it helps so many people heal. I
I
love
love
it.
it. So many avenues you can go. So thank you for the
Right.
beautiful, kind, compassionate work that you do. And you're getting my wheels turning on how I want to step forward in that project because it is about to tactical side of things. I mean, touch is so important. You're talking to someone who works in touch therapy. So there is such a level,
Right.
it's so important for us to be able to connect with something. And a lot of times it might be the feel of the tweed or the fabric or just the smell. There's so many things about that.
Oh, yes.
So yeah. So I want to play a little game with you as we close out this conversation, which is, by the
All
way,
right.
beautiful. And Danielle, you're a delight. I'm going to throw out a word, and it's from our conversation. Ooh. And what I would love for you to do is just throw back the first word that comes to mind. Don't think about it too much. Just throw out a word from the word that I say to you. Word association. Let's see where Danielle's head's today. Okay, ready?
Let's see.
Let's see, girl.
Yes.
All right. Mending.
Healing.
Anxiety.
Help.
Restoration.
Oh, words are just not there for me today. Oh gosh. I want another word for moving forward, and I can't. I can't think of it right now.
You can say moving forward. That's fine. You can say moving forward. That's okay. I'll take 2 words. Fluff.
Okay. Comfort.
Memories.
Lasting.
Rabbit.
Home. That's going to make me emotional.
I love it. You're a delight.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed having this time with you. I know I get emotional. I was getting a little emotional before too, but look, that's part of the healing. Like when we can connect with one another and really, really just be in the space together and realize we all are on our own journey, but we're really on the walk together. It's like what Ram Dass said, or I think it's originally Rumi that said it, but we're all just walking each other home. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with listeners?
I would say, do what you love and find those things in life that bring you joy and comfort, and don't care about what other people think about it. If it brings you happiness, do it. I never thought I'd be the stuffed animal lady, but I love that part of my story now. And if everyone else out there, even with anxiety, giving the ability to connect yourself to something else that brings you comfort throughout your day, do it. Don't worry about what other people think about you. Go for it.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being part of this space. Thank you for continuing to blow it up on TikTok and share your gift, your peculiar genius. And just, listeners, I just want to mention, we will share everything about Danielle, from her TikTok to her restoration fund, tall glass of anxiety. There's a lot of lower hyphens underneath that, right? Underscores. Yes. So I'll put it in the notes so people definitely can gravitate to you, and you'll be seeing me on TikTok, so I'll be talking about you as well.
Yes.
But thank you so much for taking time to connect and show your love.
Thank you, Hilary. I really, really, truly appreciate you having me on your podcast, and I hope that anyone who is listening can find comfort in it in some shape or form. And again, just thanks for having me be a part of it. I feel very honored.
The pleasure was mine. Okay, my friend, if you are on TikTok, I highly recommend that you follow Danielle. On her account, get this, a tall glass of anxiety. There's a couple underscores there, and I'll share that link on the podcast page. And while you're there, follow HIListically Speaking, and I would love to hear from you. You can also follow us both on Instagram. I will add those links as well. And if you're looking to get involved in a restoration of your own, definitely reach out to Danielle at fluffrestoration.org, or you can even consider giving the gift of fluffy love to someone else, sharing memories. I will share all of that so that you can be a part of the process. And listen, I do understand that this topic could hit a chord with some of you, depending on what your own childhood memories were like. And let me just say this, that you are loved and you are supported. And if you need additional support, I have got you. And if I can't do it, I will find someone who can. So just reach out to me and let's hug it out with my approach to healing, which is healing, understanding, and gratitude. Just reach out to me on social media at Hilary Russo or on my website at hilaryrusso.com, or even right here, wherever your headphones are taking you, you can reach out to me on this platform as well. And let's see if we can just connect and go from there. Hilistically Speaking is edited by Two Market Media with music by Litbone Redding and with love by me to you every day. So never let go of that childish enthusiasm. Be kind to your mind and others and laugh. Always remember to laugh.
I know the girl with mountains in her